Last night you fell asleep watching a movie about samurai. Armor, honor, slow motion duels in the rain. This morning you wake up on a straw mat. The ceiling is wooden. The air smells of incense and damp paper. There is no glass in the windows. You are not in your house, not in your century. You slide open a paper door. Kyoto, Heian Japan. Kyoto looks perfect. The emperor writes poetry. The nobles compete in elegance. But outside the capital, tax collectors disappear. Villages burn quietly. And armed men begin answering to names that are not imperial. You are standing at the moment a country invents a warrior class, not because it wants to, because it has to. You walk outside. Kyoto breathes in incense and denial, and somewhere in the distance a mounted rider watches the road. He is not important yet, but he will be, and so will you. If you stay with me until the end of this story, you will understand something most people never do. Samurai were not born from honor. You step out into Kyoto like you've walked into a perfectly staged lie. The air is clean in a way cities shouldn't be. Wood smoke thinned by winter wind, incense drifting from sleeves, the faint sour note of river mud far away. Gravel crunches under sandals. Painted gates glow vermilion against pale morning light. Courtiers glide past in layered silk, sleeves long enough to hide hands and intentions. You can feel eyes on you, not hostile, not welcoming, measuring. Your face is wrong for this place, too modern in the set of your jaw, the directness of your gaze, the way you stand like someone used to space. You correct yourself fast. Here, confidence is not strength. Confidence is a declaration. You lower your eyes half a degree, slow your movements, let your posture soften into the quiet grammar of the court. A young attendant approaches, bows, waits for you to speak first. Then you don't. The pause is a mistake. The attendant's smile holds, but it tightens at the corners as if he's filing you into a category that isn't safe. You realize your first survival problem isn't hunger or violence. It's etiquette. In this city, the wrong pause can cost you a patron. The wrong word can make you visible. And visibility, in a palace full of delicate power, is how people disappear without anyone admitting it happened. Inside the palace complex, the day runs on soft sounds, brush on paper, sliding doors, the low clink of lacquered trays, laughter that ends too quickly when someone important approaches. You follow the flow of servants the way a swimmer follows a current, never ahead of it, never resisting it. In a side hall, you pass a screen painted with cranes and pines. Behind it, voices drift out, calm as tea. Someone recites a poem about snow. Someone else answers with a better one. It would be easy to believe this is the whole country. Beauty, manners, calm. Then a different sound cuts through. Boots on wood, heavier, impatient. Not the soft steps of courtiers. A man strides past with a travel-stained cloak and a bundle of scrolls tied in cord. He looks like he's been awake for days. His face is dusted with road grime, his eyes fixed on a destination rather than an audience. Two guards follow, carrying long boughs that look absurdly large compared to the delicate world around them. Nobody comments. Nobody asks why a man is rushing through the emperor's refined corridors, as if time itself is an enemy. Courtiers simply shift out of the way, sleeves hiding mouths, eyes hiding thoughts. You catch a phrase as he passes.
The collector did not return.
The words are said softly, as if speaking them louder would invite the same fate. Your stomach tightens. The capital is elegant, yes, but the elegance is being defended from something. And the defense doesn't look like poems. By midday, you're in a smaller room where paper screens glow with sun, and the smell of ink is strong enough to taste. A scribe sits with a reed brush, copying characters onto a scroll with the patience of someone building a wall one brick at a time. An older official stands behind him, hands tucked into sleeves, posture perfect. On a low table nearby are other scrolls, lists, seals, bundles marked with names. You understand none of the writing, but you recognize the mood. Bureaucracy under stress. The official speaks in that gentle, weaponized tone that sounds polite while deciding outcomes. You don't get an explanation. You get a task, delivered like it's nothing. Carry this. Stand there. Wait. Don't ask questions. You watch the scribe's brush pause when the official mentions provinces beyond the mountains. The pause is tiny. It's still a pause. The official's eyes flick to it and back, as if reminding the scribe that even hesitating can be read as doubt. Then you hear two names drift through the room like knives wrapped in silk.
Fujiwara.
And another you don't catch. The emperor is mentioned too, but the way they mention him is different. More like a symbol than a decision maker. And that is your first real clue about where power lives here. Not where the paintings tell you it lives, but where the quiet commands come from. Late afternoon, you're sent with a small group toward a gate at the edge of the refined district. The streets change as you walk. Silk becomes hemp. Perfume becomes sweat. The air picks up the honest smell of cooking rice, fish broth, damp wood. The houses are still wooden, but less polished, more practical. People glance at you and look away, the way you look away from trouble you don't want. Near the gate, a man kneels by a cart, tying ropes with hands that shake from cold or fear. Two local guards stand nearby with simple armor pieces that don't match the court's elegance. Lamellar plates tied with cords, practical helmets, long asymmetrical bows taller than most men. Their clothing is worn. Their posture is alert. One of them watches the road the way a predator watches grass. You follow his gaze. The road stretches out of the capital like a vein into darkness, muddy, rutted, lined by bare trees and low fields. A small tax party is preparing to leave. The cart holds sacks and sealed scrolls. It also holds something else you can feel even without knowing the language. Risk. The man with the shaking hands looks toward the city walls like he's trying to memorize safety before he loses it. Someone speaks to him, quiet, sharp. The man bows too deep. You understand the sentence without translating it.
Go Anyuai.
That's when you feel the capital's rot, not in its beauty, but in what that beauty cannot do. The emperor's world is a lantern. The countryside is the wind, and the people standing between them, the mounted men with bows, are starting to matter more than the poetry does. That evening, back inside the glow of paper lanterns, you eat a simple meal with servants. Rice, pickled greens, broth that tastes of seaweed and smoke. You keep your posture modest, your eyes lowered enough to be safe, but open enough to learn. A servant beside you murmurs something like a warning, not a speech, just a small sentence dropped like a coin. The roads are not safe. The estates are far. The governor's men don't arrive on time. Sometimes they don't arrive at all. Another servant laughs softly at something, then stops when a guard passes the doorway. You don't need a lecture to understand what's happening. You can feel the shape of it. A capital that performs order and a countryside that demands force. Men with bows are being hired, then relied upon, then feared, then obeyed. Not because anyone declared a new class, because the old system is too slow to reach the places where people are actually bleeding. You lie down again on straw, incense fading into night air, and you finally understand the samurai are not here yet, but the conditions that create them are already walking the roads, wearing lamellar plates, watching the dark with calm eyes. And tomorrow, if you want to survive socially, politically, and psychologically, you will have to follow them out of the lantern light and into the country that is forcing Japan to change. Morning breaks without ceremony. The gate opens, and the capital exhales you into mud and wind. Kyoto shrinks behind you like a lamp being carried away. The road is narrow and rutted, bordered by bare trees and low winter fields. A cart creaks ahead, its rope bindings tight, its sealed bundles wrapped like secrets. The tax collector rides stiffly, eyes fixed forward. 2 mounted guards travel with you, long boughs rising over their shoulders like tall shadows. Their armor is tied with cords and patched where it has been repaired more than once. They don't talk much. They don't need to. A servant walking beside the cart keeps glancing at the tree line. His hands never stop moving, adjusting straps that don't need adjusting. He's not fixing the cart. He's keeping himself from shaking. The tax collector tries to sound confident, but the words come out thin.
Keep pace.
Nobody answers. The horses do. By midday, the air tastes of smoke and wet earth. A village appears, small and quiet, roofs thatched, walls of rough wood. People stop what they're doing just long enough to watch you pass. A child points at the boughs. An older woman pulls him back by the sleeve. No one smiles. A man steps out from a doorway, bows shallowly, then straightens too fast. One of the guards turns his head slightly, like a hawk noticing a mouse. The man bows again, deeper. The collector calls out, careful and formal.
Tax due.
The village headman doesn't argue. He gestures toward sacks that look lighter than they should. There is a pause where bargaining might happen in another world. Here, the pause is dangerous. The guard's horse shifts, hooves sinking into mud with a soft, final sound. The headman swallows and nods again.
No trouble.
The collector avoids looking relieved. You move on. The village disappears behind you like it never existed. In the afternoon, the sky turns flat and pale. The road climbs slightly, and the fields widen into open ground where you can see too far. Open ground feels safe until you realize it also means you can be seen. A distant shape appears on the road ahead. 3 riders not dressed like courtiers, not dressed like peasants. Their horses move with the casual confidence of people who expect the road to belong to them. The escort slows. One guard raises a hand. The cart stops. One of the strangers calls out, friendly in tone, wrong in timing.
We're going.
The collector answers too quickly.
Official route.
The riders exchange a look. Their smiles don't reach their eyes. A guard shifts his bow hand, not drawing, just reminding everyone it exists. The riders drift to the side of the road, letting you pass, slow, deliberate, watching your bundles. As you roll forward, one of them mutters, almost amused.
Rich cart.
No one responds. The silence is the response. When the riders finally vanish behind a bend, the tax collector exhales like he's been underwater. He tries to laugh, but it comes out wrong. One guard speaks without looking at him.
Don't boast.
The collector nods, smaller than he was this morning. Near dusk, you reach an estate boundary. Not a wall, not a gatehouse, just a line of markers and a road that suddenly looks maintained. The fields here are better kept. The storehouse is larger. The people are quieter. A steward meets you with clean sleeves and a face trained for neutrality. He bows to the collector, then looks past him to the mounted guards. His bow deepens. He gestures you all inside a courtyard where smoke rises from a cooking fire and horses are already being led away. The scent of rice and miso broth sits warm in the cold air. A servant brings bowls without asking questions. You eat standing or crouched because nobody offers chairs unless you're important. The guards eat first, not by rule, but because no one is brave enough to suggest otherwise. The steward speaks softly to the collector.
Road's worse.
The collector answers like he's reading a script.
Imperial duty.
The steward's eyes flick to the bows again.
Need more.
The collector stiffens.
Do you mean more guards?
The steward doesn't correct him. He just repeats, slightly slower.
Need more.
One of the mounted men finally speaks, voice flat as stone.
Pay first.
The steward nods immediately. A bundle is brought out. Rice, cloth, a sealed pouch that clinks once and then stays quiet. The guard doesn't open it here. He just weighs it in his palm, then hands it to a younger rider behind him like a routine. The collector watches, mouth tight. He is learning the same lesson you are. The emperor's seal can order taxes, but it can't make a road safe. Later, as lanterns are lit, you see the estate's local watch, men with spears and padded armor, standing in pairs near entrances, eyes scanning the dark. They are not court soldiers. They are not bandits. They are something in between. A boy brings water to a horse, careful, reverent. The horse is treated like a weapon that eats. The steward speaks to the guards again, almost respectfully.
Are you going to stay tonight?
One guard answers.
We stay.
It is not a request. It becomes a fact. As night deepens, voices lower and doors slide shut. Somewhere beyond the courtyard, a dog barks once, then stops. The estate holds its breath as if listening for footsteps that never fully go away. A servant passes you and murmurs quickly, eyes down.
Don't wander around.
You don't. In the morning, before the sun fully rises, the guards are already awake. They check straps, cords, bowstrings with the same quiet care the court gives to poetry. One of them tightens a knot, tests it, tightens it again. The tax collector approaches with his seal and his stiff posture. He looks older than yesterday. He tries to sound in control.
Depart now.
The guard answers without disrespect, and without obedience either.
After scouts.
The collector blinks once. The steward does not. A younger rider mounts and disappears down the road without announcing himself. Nobody asks permission. Nobody stops him. Everyone waits. You realize what has changed since Kyoto. Here, paper does not lade. Horses do, and the men who can promise safety, even imperfect safety, are starting to stand, closer to power than the people who write poems about snow. The third day out from Kyoto, the road stops pretending it belongs to the capital. Marker stones appear and disappear, replaced by wooden stakes and small flags that mean nothing unless you know who planted them. The escort doesn't slow for signs anymore. It slows for silhouettes. You reach a valley where rice paddies should be calm, but smoke hangs low over wet earth. A farmhouse sits half collapsed, its roof burned through, black ribs showing against the sky. People stand in a loose line, not crying, not shouting, watching for whoever arrives with authority. A local steward meets you at the edge of the fields. He bows to the seal on the collector's bundle, then bows deeper to the mounted guard. He doesn't argue about order. He measures which order can actually move.
Over there!
He points toward the burned house, and the guard rides first. The collector follows, and you follow the collector, because in places like this, the middle of the group is safer than the edges. A farmer kneels in mud, hands raw from digging through ash. He speaks fast, then stops when the guard's horse turns its head toward him. His mouth closes like a door being shut.
Speak clear.
The farmer nods hard, then gestures toward a boundary ditch. 2 wooden posts lie snapped, thrown aside like toys, and the ditch is filled in where it shouldn't be. A landline has been erased. The steward offers a scroll with a wax seal, but the farmer's eyes stay on the guard. The scroll matters only if someone can enforce it. Everyone here already knows that. The collector clears his throat and begins the language of the court, formal, tidy, slow. The valley doesn't respond to tidy language. The steward cuts in, softer, faster, closer to the ground.
Night raids!
The guard dismounts and crouches near the broken posts. He presses 2 fingers into the damp soil, then looks at the tree line like it owes him an answer. He doesn't look surprised, only annoyed. A second group arrives while you're still standing in the mud. 3 riders, then 5 more behind them, their bows unwrapped, their helmets plain. They don't wear court colors. They wear practicality. The steward bows to them too, not as deep, but still deep. The collector stiffens at that because the collector wants the hierarchy to be vertical, and here it's already sideways. One of the newcomers speaks like he's announcing weather.
This is not your land.
The farmer's shoulders tense. The steward lifts both hands, palms open, a gesture that isn't surrender, just prevention. The collector starts to speak again, and the mounted guard interrupts with one small word that ends debate.
Wait.
Silence lands, heavy and useful. The new riders glance at the guard's bow, then at the number of men behind him, then at the cart with sealed bundles. They calculate quickly. One of them smiles then.
Pay a toll.
The collector looks to the steward like this is absurd. The steward doesn't look confused. He looks tired. A toll is just another name for rent when law arrives late. The guard reaches into a pouch and tosses a small bundle of rice cakes into the mud between them. It's not generous. It's a message. The riders look down at it, then back up, their smiles fading. The leader nods once.
Go on.
The riders move aside. Not defeated, just postponed. You see the farmer watching them leave like he's watching wolves step back into the forest. The steward speaks to the collector as you walk away. His voice stays polite, but the meaning is sharp. Law arrives late. The collector doesn't answer. The guard's horse snorts, as if agreeing. By dusk, the escort stops at a small estate with a fence that looks newly repaired. Men stand at corners with spears, and they're watching the shadows more than the guests. The steward here doesn't ask who you are. He asks how many riders you brought.
Enough?
The guard answers without warmth.
Not yet.
That night, lanterns are covered early. Doors slide shut with soft finality. You hear a dog bark once, then the bark gets cut off, as if someone grabbed the sound by the throat. A young retainer slips into the courtyard and kneels by the mounted guard. He speaks fast, eyes down.
There are fresh tracks heading east.
The guard stands immediately. No announcement, no drama. The men with bows rise as if pulled by the same string. The collector steps out, startled, trying to reclaim control with words.
What now?
The guard doesn't explain. He just points once toward the fence line.
Stay here.
You don't move. The estate men don't move either. Everyone understands the same thing. If trouble comes, it comes first, to the edges. The mounted men disappear into the dark, and the courtyard becomes painfully quiet. Time stretches in a way the capital never allows, because the capital hides time under routine. Then, a sound. Not a scream, not a clash. A dull thud, like a body hitting wet ground. A second thud. Then silence again. A few minutes later, the riders return, dragging 2 men by their sleeves. The captives are soaked in mud, eyes wide, mouths working without sound. Their hands are empty, but their clothes smell of smoke. The estate steward steps forward, trembling, trying to speak. The mounted guard cuts him off with 2 words.
Show the proof.
One captive shakes his head. The other blurts something in a rush, then stops when the guard's hand lifts slightly. The guard doesn't strike. He doesn't need to. The guard leans down, lifts the man's collar, and a small strip of cloth falls out, dyed, marked, not imperial. A private banner. A private loyalty. The guard stands and turns to the estate steward.
Whose those men are?
The steward swallows. He doesn't want to answer. Then he does, because not answering is worse.
Eastern Manor.
No one gasps. No one looks shocked. It lands like confirmation of what everyone already suspected. The threat isn't foreign, it's local. It wears familiar clothes. At dawn, the mounted guard rides to the Eastern Manor with 2 men. The collector insists on sending a written notice, and the guard allows it like you allow a child to carry a toy. Harmless, comforting, slow. You travel with the group as an extra pair of hands, because the collector won't let the cart move without eyes on it. The road is narrow, and fog sits low like a warning you can't read. The Eastern Manor appears behind trees, larger than the estates you've seen, fenced tighter, guards posted in pairs. A man in better clothing meets you at the gate with a smile that is too rehearsed.
Welcome, friends.
He bows to the collector's seal, then looks past it to the bowman. His smile tightens.
Small mistake.
He tries to keep it light, tries to keep it social. The mounted guard doesn't play. He steps forward, stops at a distance that is polite and dangerous.
Return the land.
The manor man laughs softly, like it's a misunderstanding.
It's not mine.
The mounted guard lifts a hand, and one of the riders places the captured cloth strip on the ground between them. It is not thrown. It is presented. The manor man's eyes flick down, then up. He pauses half a beat too long. The pause is louder than denial. The manor man tries again, quieter.
Let's talk inside.
The mounted guard doesn't move. He lets the silence do its work. Behind you, the collector shifts his weight, uncomfortable, because this is not how disputes are settled in scrolls. A door opens inside the manor, and an older figure appears, the true owner, the one whose name is never spoken loudly. He doesn't shout. He doesn't threaten. He simply walks to the gate and studies the bowman with tired eyes. He speaks like a man making a decision, not an argument.
Pay with rice.
The mounted guard nods once. That nod is not gratitude. It's confirmation of terms. Bundles are carried out, rice, cloth, a pouch that clinks once. The older figure's face remains calm, but his eyes don't leave the bows. He knows why he's paying. As you turn back toward the road, the collector mutters something to the steward under his breath, trying to reclaim narrative. The steward doesn't answer him. The steward addresses the bowman instead.
Stay longer.
The mounted guard doesn't promise. He doesn't refuse. He answers in the only language that matters here.
It depends.
That evening, back at the valley, the farmers' boundary posts are replaced, not by imperial men, not by an official procession, by riders with bows and cord-tied armor, working with quiet speed. The farmer bows to the collector, yes, but his eyes keep flicking to the mounted guard. The farmer presses a small bundle into the guard's hand, dried fish, rice cakes, payment that isn't ordered by law, but offered by survival. The guard accepts without ceremony. He gives a short nod, and the farmer exhales like he's been holding his breath for weeks. The collector watches this exchange and finally understands something he cannot say aloud. The seal collects taxes, but the bow collects obedience. In the days that follow, you stay with the riders more often. You carry water. You hold a horse steady while a strap is tightened. You learn to sit quietly when older men speak, and to move fast when they don't. A younger rider hands you a bowstring and gestures in a fraying knot. He doesn't explain. He watches whether you can follow without being taught like a child.
Again.
You tie it. He tests it, shakes his head once, and gestures again.
Again.
By the third attempt, the knot holds. He nods, not smiling. Approval here is sparse because praise creates comfort, and comfort kills. On the seventh day, the mounted guard calls you over while the others eat. He studies you the way the court studied you, but without silk. He looks at your hands, your posture, your patience.
Can you ride?
A horse is led forward, not a gift, a test. You mount carefully, stiff at first, then steadier. The horse shifts, and you correct without panic. The guard watches the correction. He speaks once, short, final.
Serve us.
No speech, no ceremony. Just a new position in a moving world. A cord-tied piece of lamellar is set into your hands, and the weight is practical, not symbolic. A steward brings a simple belt. A younger rider shows you how to tie it correctly. Tight enough to hold, not tight enough to choke.
Like this.
That night you sit at the edge of their fire, not in the center. You eat after the older men, not because you must, but because you understand the rule now. The road beyond the lantern light feels closer than it used to, like the dark has leaned in to listen. At dawn you ride with them, not behind the cart, not beside the collector, but in the line of men who make roads passable. The capital is still there somewhere, writing poems about snow. Out here, loyalty has a price, and you have just been paid in something sharper than coin, a place in the saddle. That night, the capital is far behind you, though its lantern light still seems to glow somewhere in memory. You sit by a low fire with men who do not quote poems, do not bow deeply, do not ask permission before making the world obey them. One of them hands you a bowl of rice, and no one treats it like a ceremony. The horse beside you shifts in the dark, leather creaks. A bowstring hums once as someone checks it with a thumb. No one says welcome, no one needs to. You are here, and that is already an answer. In Kyoto, power wore silk and perfume and moved behind screens painted with cranes. Out here, power smells like wet earth, horse, sweat, wood smoke, and old cord pulled tight around lacquered armor. In the capital, men wrote order. Out here, men enforce it. And somewhere between those two worlds, something new is being born. Not all at once, not with a declaration, not with a battle drum. It begins like this: a road no one can secure, a tax cart that needs armed riders, an estate that bows deeper to a bow than to an imperial seal, a stranger like you being told to ride instead of wait. This is how a country changes, quietly first, then all at once. At dawn, the youngest rider wakes you with the side of his boot.
Up.
No anger, no warmth, just fact. You stand. Your legs are stiff. Your hands still don't move like theirs. But when they saddle the horses, no one tells you to stay behind. That is how fast the world has shifted. Yesterday you were trying not to make a mistake in a palace corridor. Today you ride with men who are already becoming more necessary than the court itself. And this is only the beginning, because in the next episode, you won't just ride beside them. You'll learn what they learn, how to hold the bow, how to sit a horse without thinking, how loyalty is bought, tested, and inherited, how names like Tira and Minamata stop being rumors and start becoming gravity. And if you survive long enough, you won't just watch the rise of the samurai. You will help carry them back into the capital, where poetry still hangs in the air, and no one yet understands that the men from the provinces are coming home with power in their hands. If you've made it this far, subscribe, because the next step is where service becomes training, training becomes identity, and identity becomes the force that will take Japan away from the court and hand it to the sword. Episode 2 is where the road turns into destiny, and you're already on it.